Victoria Police Chief Commissioner Mike Bush just made an announcement about restructuring the entire police force. And buried in that announcement, almost like an afterthought, he admitted something extraordinary about the Dezi Freeman case after nearly 2 months of searching. After deploying hundreds of officers, after spending millions of taxpayer dollars, after investigating 400 tips from the public, Victoria Police doesn't know if Dezi Freeman is even alive. Let me say that again. They don't know if the man they've been hunting for 2 months is alive or dead, and the timing of this admission, right when Bush announces plans to restructure Victoria Police. Coincidence? Or is Commissioner Bush preparing to bury the failure of this entire operation under the cover of restructuring? Let's talk about the context of Commissioner Bush's admission, because the timing matters. Bush was announcing his plans to restructure the Victoria Police Force. A major organizational change, the kind of announcement that gets media attention and shifts focus. And in the middle of that announcement, a reporter asked for an update on the Dezi Freeman search. Bush's response? Quote, "Unfortunately, we have no updates. After nearly 2 months. Then he laid out what he called 3 likely scenarios Victoria Police is considering. Quote, "Is he still alive? We don't know. Is he alive and still in the area? We have no real information to suggest that it's occurred, but we never discount. Or has he been unable to leave the area and is being looked after by others? We don't know. 3 scenarios. We don't know for all 3. Then Bush added, all of those are assumptions, possibilities, and we plan and resource for those 3. Translation. After nearly 2 months and millions of dollars, Victoria Police is admitting they're planning based on assumptions, not evidence. Now, here's what I find interesting about the timing. Bush announces restructuring, a story about fixing Victoria Police, moving forward, making changes, then immediately admits total failure on the Freeman case. We don't know if he's even alive. Is the restructuring related to the failures exposed by the Freeman case? Bush didn't say, but announcing a massive organizational restructure while admitting you don't know if your most wanted person is alive? That's not coincidence. That's strategy. It's preparing the public for the reality that this manhunt has been a complete failure from day one. Let's be very clear about what Commissioner Bush just admitted. After nearly 2 months of Victoria, police's largest manhunt in recent history, they don't know 3 basic facts. 1. Is Dezi Freeman alive? 2. If he's alive, is he in the search area? 3. Is anyone helping him? Those aren't complex intelligence questions. Those are fundamental facts that should have been determined weeks ago. And Bush's admission tells you everything about how this investigation has been conducted. They deployed 200 officers to search 40-plus square kilometers of bushland. But they never established whether Freeman was actually there. They investigated 400 tips from the public. Everyone pursued twice, according to Bush. But not one of those tips provided useful information. They've spent millions of taxpayer dollars. But they can't answer the most basic question. Is he alive? Now let's think about this from Freeman's perspective, assuming he is alive. If you were Freeman, and you knew Victoria Police was searching 40 square kilometers with 200 officers, helicopters, thermal imaging, and every piece of technology available, would you still be there? Or would you have left in those first critical hours after August 24th, while Victoria Police was still organizing their response? Bush admits they have, quote, no real information to suggest Freeman is in the search area. No real information. Not we can't share operational details. Not the investigation is ongoing. No real information. That's an admission that Freeman probably isn't where they've been searching for 2 months. Which raises the obvious question.
If you have no real information that he's in the area,
why are 200 officers still there? Commissioner Bush laid out 3 scenarios. Victoria Police is considering, but let me reframe those scenarios in terms of what they actually reveal about this investigation. Scenario 1. Freeman is dead. If Freeman died shortly after, August 24th, whether from injury, exposure, or by his own hand, that would explain everything Victoria Police has failed to find. No sightings. No useful tips. No trace despite intensive searching. But here's what this scenario means. Victoria Police has spent 2 months and millions of dollars searching for someone who was already dead. 200 officers deployed. 40 square kilometers searched. 1,400 tips investigated. All of it wasted effort because they couldn't determine the basic status of their target. Scenario 2. Freeman is alive and still in the area. Bush admits they have, quote, no real information to suggest this has occurred. So this scenario means Freeman, despite being described by police as someone they desperately need to find, despite having a $1 million reward offered for information, despite supposedly being in a contained search area, has left zero evidence of his presence for 2 months. Either Freeman is the greatest survivalist in Australian history, or he's not actually there. Which do you think is more likely? Scenario 3. Freeman is alive but being helped by others. Bush says, quote, we don't know. But think about what this scenario requires. A network of people willing to risk serious criminal charges to hide someone accused of killing 2 police officers. People who've maintained perfect operational security for 2 months despite Victoria Police's investigation, and Victoria Police, after 2 months, still has no evidence this is happening? That's either a massive failure of intelligence gathering, or this scenario isn't real. What all 3 scenarios have in common is this. They're excuses for why Victoria Police has found nothing, not evidence-based assessments. Excuses. Commissioner. Bush confirmed that Victoria Police received 1,400 tips from the public about Freeman's whereabouts. He said, quote, every one of those pursued twice, so that's 2,800 separate investigative actions. Thousands of officer hours, enormous resources, and the result? We don't know if Freeman is even alive. Now let's think about what this actually means. 1,400 people contacted Victoria Police with information. That's a significant public response. It shows people are paying attention, trying to help, but not one of those tips produced useful intelligence. Is that because the public is providing useless information? Or because Victoria Police doesn't know how to process it? Or, and this is what I suspect, because Freeman isn't where the public is looking. If Freeman left the area in those first hours after August 24th, then it doesn't matter how many tips come in about the Porpunka region. None of them will be useful because he's not there. The public can only provide tips based on what they observe in their communities. They can't tell police that the entire search area is wrong. That's something Victoria Police should have determined themselves through proper investigation. But instead, they've been reactive, chasing public tips, following up on information from people who don't have any better idea where Freeman is than police do. And now, after pursuing 1,400 tips twice, Bush admits they still don't know if Freeman is alive. That's not the public's failure. That's Victoria Police's failure. Let me point out what Commissioner Bush very carefully didn't say in his statement. He didn't say, they're getting closer to finding Freeman. He didn't say they have promising leads they're following up on. He didn't say there's been any progress in the investigation. What he said was, we have 3 scenarios, all based on assumptions, and we're planning and resourcing for all of them. That's bureaucratic language for, we have no idea what we're doing. And here's what really bothers me about this entire situation. On August 24th, Victoria Police sent 10 officers to Freeman's property to execute a search warrant. No tactical support. No proper risk assessment. Just 10 officers walking into a situation that resulted in 2 deaths and 1 serious injury. Then they launched a massive manhunt. 200 officers deployed. Millions of dollars spent. The largest operation of its kind. And now, nearly 2 months later, they're admitting they don't even know if the person they're looking for is alive. At what point does someone in Victoria Police leadership take responsibility for this cascade of failures? The operational planning failure on August 24th, the intelligence failure that led to that poor planning, and now the investigative failure that's produced no results despite massive resources. Commissioner. Bush announces restructuring of Victoria Police, but he's not connecting it to the Freeman case failures. He's not saying these failures show we need to change. He's just restructuring, while admitting total failure on the state's most high-profile case, and the public is supposed to just accept that? Here's what I think is actually happening based on Commissioner Bush's admission. Victoria Police knows this manhunt has been a failure from the beginning. They know they're not going to find Freeman in the search area because he's not there, if he's even alive. But they can't just call off the search. They can't admit they've wasted 2 months and millions of dollars on an operation that was doomed from the start. So they're pivoting, restructuring the force, changing the narrative from, we're hunting Freeman to, We're fixing Victoria Police. And in that pivot, Bush admits, almost casually, as if it's not a stunning revelation, that they don't know if Freeman is alive. That's how you manage a failed operation. You change the subject to organizational restructuring. You admit failure in the most technical language possible, and you move on. But let's be very clear about what's happened here. Dezi Freeman lived on his property in Porpunka. By all accounts, he'd been there for years. He had views that made him suspicious of government authority. His family knew he had anger issues. His behavior was documented. On August 24th, Victoria Police sent 10 officers to his property. Whatever happened there, and we still don't have full details, resulted in 2 officers dead and 1 wounded. Freeman left his property and entered bushland he knew intimately. He'd been preparing for scenarios like this, according to reports. He knew the area. He had skills, and Victoria Police, despite deploying hundreds of officers and spending millions, has found nothing. Not because Freeman is superhuman, but because Victoria Police fundamentally misunderstood the situation from the beginning. They underestimated him on August 24th. And they've been searching in the wrong place ever since. And now Bush is admitting, without actually saying it directly, that this entire operation has been a failure. Victoria Police Chief Commissioner Mike Bush announced plans to restructure the police force, and in that announcement, he quietly admitted that after nearly 2 months of searching for Dezi Freeman, Victoria Police doesn't know if he's alive or dead. Let me summarize what Bush told us. After 400 tips from the public, pursued twice, Victoria Police has no real information about Freeman's location or status. After deploying 200 officers to search 40-plus square kilometers, they can't confirm whether Freeman is in the area. After spending millions of taxpayer dollars, they're planning and resourcing based on assumptions, not evidence. 2 Victoria Police officers died on August 24th. Senior Constable Vadim Dewart-Hodart and Detective Leading Senior Constable Neil Thompson. A 3rd officer was seriously wounded. Those officers went to Freeman's property because Victoria Police Command planned and authorized that operation. And now, nearly 2 months later, Victoria Police can't even tell us if Freeman is alive. That's not just operational failure. That's complete systemic failure at every level. But instead of accountability, we get restructuring announcements and vague language about assumptions and possibilities. The question Victorians should be asking isn't, where is Dezi Freeman? The question is, when will Victoria Police leadership take responsibility for the failures that led to August 24th and everything that's happened since? Because based on Commissioner Bush's statement, that accountability isn't coming. What do you think? Is Victoria Police preparing to quietly wind down this search without ever admitting it was doomed from the start? Leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe, because I'll be watching to see if this restructuring is actually about fixing the problems exposed by this case, or just about changing the subject.